Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Jody Golden. I'm filling in today for our Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. And I'm going to go ahead and call to order the December 2020 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors. We are meeting telephonically today pursuant to the current health emergency and the Governor's Executive Orders 20-04 and 20-09. Since we are meeting telephonically, the procedures will be a little different from those we use during our regular board meetings. There will be an audio feed for the general public so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be an audio recording posted to IHCDA's website next month. At the time the motions are being made, each board member that makes a motion must state his or her first and last name for the record. I will now take a roll call of the board members to confirm who is present for the record. Mark Pascarella for the State Public Finance Director.
Here.
Indiana's Treasurer of State, Kelly Mitchell. I think Kelly's Treasurer Mitchell's frozen, maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member June Midkiff.
I'm here. Yes.
Board Member Michael Schottmeyer.
Present.
Board Member Tom McGowan.
Is not attending.
Okay. And Executive Director Jake Stipe.
I am here.
All right. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 19th, 2020 board meeting. Board, any questions regarding the November 2020 minutes? No questions? May I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, June Midkiff, I move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Mark Pascarella.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing no one opposed, the motion passes. Would like to move on to the second portion of the agenda, real estate. Please welcome Peter Nelson to present a recommendation regarding bond volume, 4% credits for the Richland Apartments.
Good morning, board. As mentioned, I am here this morning to recommend Richland Apartments to receive an allocation of bond volume, tax credits, and some Indiana Affordable Housing and Community Development Fund. So this application was the 15th that we received and reviewed as part of the 2020 bond round. It represents a total development cost of just over $20.5 million, requesting $12.5 million in bond volume, $529,375 in LIHTC, and a $500,000 development fund loan. So this project is from Allied Real Estate Partners. They are proposing rehab and preservation of 111 units, along with new construction of 50 additional units. These units all be age restricted at age 62 and older. The project is going to contain 1- and 2-bedroom units in garden style buildings across 6 different sites in Ellettsville and Steinsville. Those areas are kind of west and northwest of Bloomington. This developer has worked in that area and with those housing authorities before, so they're very familiar with the area, with the communities, and with the population that they're serving. Property management for this project is going to be working closely with the Bloomington Housing Authority and the Area 10 Agency on Aging to provide residents with supportive services. And each site is located near several local amenities, including grocery stores, post office, library, restaurants, and retail. So even though it's scattered across 6 different sites, they're all within pretty close proximity to necessary amenities. I will say all 111 of the existing units are under a HAP contract, so they do have project-based vouchers on them. And then a number of the new construction units are going to be adding new vouchers as well. I believe it's, oh, I totally forgot. It's either 12 or 14. Sorry, I can't remember which one of the. either way, 12 or 14 new vouchers on those 50 new units. And during the round, we reviewed and made sure this application met the criteria of the 2020-2021 qualified allocation plan. It met all our criteria, and staff is recommending the full allocation of the requested bond volume, tax credits, and development fund. Before I do take any questions, I do want to point to our key performance indicators. This one isn't very exciting. It's just kind of keeping a tally of all the bond units that were brought online this year. But in 2020, we were able thus far to produce over 2,500 units of affordable housing through this bond program. I think 3 or 4 of these were applicants that applied late in 2019, but were approved this year. So these are all the ones that were approved by this board through the pandemic, through our agency working from home. Our developers were still submitting applications, getting these moving, realizing that affordable housing is still a big need, and we were able to create or preserve so many more units of affordable housing. So I think that's really just a testament to how strong this program is and all the hard work that developers and staff and everyone involved in this is putting into this program. And it's certainly something that we should be proud of. With that, I will take any questions from the board about this project.
Board, do you have any questions for Peter? Okay, Peter, I think we're ready for your resolution.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $12.5 million in bond volume, $529,375 in annual LIHTC, and $500,000 in development fund to Ellettsville Senior Citizens Communities LLC for Richland Apartments, according to the terms of the 2020 AB application round as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Peter. Board, we have
Mike
a resolution.
Schotmeyer, move for approval.
Thank you,
Ellie, I'll
Mr.
second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no one opposed, the motion passes. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the finance section of the agenda. Please welcome Mark Pascarella to present a recommendation on behalf of the Budget Committee regarding the 2021 General Fund Operating Budget. Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously, as I go through my discussion today, we'll keep it pretty high level just due to the fact that there were a lot of different changes. Hopefully you've received the packet and looked it over, but due to the nature of the year, obviously there have been a lot of changes that happened, discrepancies just due to COVID-19. But what I'm happy to report is the overall view is that things actually worked out pretty well, all things considered. I think there are a lot of different things that IHCDA would have loved to have done, but they took the necessary steps, I think, to keep the entity going and being in a strong position. And especially right now when you're talking about financial challenges, being able to have that fortress balance sheet, if you will, in place is important, not only to continue operating and doing what you do to help the communities, but also to possibly take care of any opportunities that may present themselves. So it's as good of a story as you can have in a COVID-19 world. So before I get too much into any details of the actual budget, I do want to remind some people about the process that it goes through. There's budget ownership concept within IHCDA, meaning that people who actually have to operate their budget are the ones who create the budgets, which obviously I think is very important because you're not talking about somebody just from the top just saying, okay, here's what you're going to do and asking them to do that. They actually get to create their own budgets, and then they're held accountable and responsible for their budgets, which I think is always a key for creating a good budgetary plan and one that actually becomes realistic and actionable. The budgets, once they are done by the budget owner, are reviewed for accuracy, and any major variances are discussed. So it happens early on in the process. And then it's compiled into a master workbook. The budgets are then reviewed monthly with the intent also to have quarterly meetings with the executive staff. So therefore, any discrepancies that are happening during the year can be addressed, as opposed to, again, I think what we would refer to as the old way being done, where it's just at the end of the year, you kind of hoped and you checked it. And at that point, if there were any problems, it was kind of too late to address them as the year went by. So I appreciate that plan, just being on the budget committee, because then it tells me that IHCDA is trying to be as proactive as possible when it comes to budgeting. And I think we see that the benefits of that showed itself again during this year when you had a just massive disruption in the workplace. All these meetings are great, they're internal, but then of course our role is the budget committee, which is composed of June Midkiff, Jody Golden, and myself. We met on December 11th, 2020, and we reviewed the proposed budget, which of course is attached as your Exhibit A. Again, hopefully you've had a chance to review it. I'll go over a little bit, again, high level on what we're looking at here for this year. We've already discussed that the COVID-19 pandemic obviously put through major changes. In March of this year, IHCDA's entire workforce transitioned to remote work. I think that's something that we have all seen across all of our lines of business. Despite having to navigate that, IHCDA staff continued to operate in a consistent manner and also a productive manner. So they were able to accomplish what they were set out to accomplish at the beginning of the year. On top of having to take care of their daily requirements, they also were tasked with trying to distribute over $40 million in federal funds for the rental assistance program. And from discussing with staff, it wasn't just a small set of people who were involved in it. It was kind of an all hands on deck performance. So a lot of different people within IHCDA touched this program and helped have it come to fruition. And I think anybody, especially the Lieutenant Governor's office, can attest to having that $40 million dispersed was very important considering the financial ramifications of COVID-19. Believe it or not, I get to report that revenues were favorable in 2020 due to the consumer housing market and the bond program. And additionally, not only were revenues impacted positively, but expenses were slashed during the year. And again, this goes to a testament of that monthly, quarterly budget meetings, realizing that a pandemic was on its way and going to affect, or most likely affect the agency in a negative way. Measures were taken to make sure that any spending that could be cut was, so that way we can maintain the fiscal health of IHCDA. Because of that, you'll be able to see that we ended up in the black and we ended up performing pretty well compared to what A was projected or B, what could have been anticipated, especially back in March. This is not to say that everything went swimmingly. I think sometimes that can go overshadowed. There were some tense moments. There were moments when we were not sure exactly how things were going to shake out. And they actually, frankly, were not always looking as positive as they ended up due to the fact that we had not seen that bond market come back for the mortgages. So it was a hard year from everything that staff had talked to us about and all the performance metrics we saw. It was not easy. But again, I believe IHCDA, through their foundational principles of how they do budgeting and how they operate as a staff, was able to come out in a very good situation. And I think the whole entire IHCDA deserves credit for that. Not only just top management, but all of the employees who worked diligently to make sure that they could right-size their budgets where they need to cut. And that budget ownership, I think, comes back into key, because then they were able to put themselves in a position to make the changes they needed in order to make sure that they ended up fiscally strong at the end. What you're going to see when it comes to projections of revenues as we move forward in the budget, we're not going to, or I should say IHCDA is not planning for any significant changes to revenues. I know this is very hard as we go to do this budget. When you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen in 2021, it becomes extremely difficult. Are we going to have harder problems than we did in 2020 because COVID-19's taken hold? Will there be a vaccine that actually will help mitigate all those problems and we'll be able to be out of it the first or second quarter. I don't think anyone really understands or sees what the revenues are going to do. So what IHCDA did said, let's just stay consistent here, and we're going to keep our projections for revenue at 2020 levels. Understanding then the other side of the coin is the expenses. And while we'll try to hold expenses tight, and I think they kind of just mirror the 2020 budget as well, there will be an uptick in spend in technology. My guess is that is not a surprise or a shock to anybody that is listening to this call. With COVID-19, stay-at-home work orders, or just out of safety, people staying home, technology has become ever increasing and ever important part of our lives. In fact, we're witnessing it right now while we're going through our board meeting remotely. So I think that uptick in technology spend is warranted, it's justified, and I don't think anyone on the committee saw an issue with it, just due to a level of its importance for IHCDA to continue to function and provide the services that they are tasked to perform. One note they wanted us to make aware of is that training cost will stay constant. One of my concerns was that with not being able to travel anywhere without being able to possibly go get more training, was the staff falling behind. IHCDA was able to pivot and move to online training. And because of the online nature, I was actually happy to hear this, they were able to have more people trained because less expensive people flying out there and going to hotels, therefore more people could sign up for training. And again, with an idea that people are not in the office as much, able to collaborate as much as they would in person, training becomes more and more important. And being able to do that, again, I believe puts IHCDA in the best possible position to move forward, considering everything that's going on. There were no significant accounting changes, so I think that's always a plus. I don't think most people like to hear about accounting changes, especially I think that's a plus considering, again, COVID-19, it's a common theme, but you're talking about $40 million coming in from federal funds. That's just more work that has to be done. It's more regulation you have to go through to make sure those funds are spent properly. So the fact that there's no accounting changes, I think is tremendous. And I hope that we'll repeat that in the 2021 section. I think the last point here I'll make about the budget moving forward is I've talked a lot about uncertainty, and we discussed that in the budget committee meeting. And part of that discussion is that there's a possibility that as the year goes by, we may have to revisit this budget. And normally budget control is considered, obviously one of the major things you have to do as an executive. And one of those points where when you see drastic changes in budgets and where the budget committee has to meet during the year, possible raise for concern. Obviously, we need to pivot, and our mode of thinking has changed in this because COVID-19 in 2021 will be so uncertain. I think the budget committee is happy to hear that the staff, the executive staff, and all the budget owners are going to be working diligently, and we may need to, due to the uncertainty, meet prior to the end of the year. We support that, and obviously we'd rather meet more often if we have to make changes, as opposed to, again, as I stated earlier, just waiting to the end of the year and then kind of hoping everything works out. So the budget committee stands ready to do that. I'm hoping we have the full support of the board to do that as well. Last, I guess, we're going to continue to monitor them, and I'm going to give my hats off to IHCDA again, because I really felt that they handled this situation fundamentally as well as you could, and they put themselves again in a position where hopefully not only can we make and keep doing what we need to do, but we're in a financial position where hopefully in the future we can take care of any opportunities as opposed to just defending our threats. So the last, I guess, bit of discussion we had at the budget committee meeting was making sure that we're taking care of the IHCDA people. And I know Jake and fellow members discussed it. They are doing little things here and there to help keep the morale of staff up. And one of those, I think, is just making sure that as they are at home, that the staff is properly equipped to do the job that they are tasked with doing. Again, we feel that's very important to make sure that people have some sort of normalcy and perform their task correctly while dealing with the stress, of course, dealing with being at home and not in the office. So that's fully supported, I think, from the Budget Committee standpoint. With that being said, I've been doing a lot of talk, so I'll be happy to open it up to any questions or comments.
Board, do you have any questions for Mark? Okay. Mark, I believe we're ready for your resolution.
Absolutely. So I guess we're going to do the recommendation first, which is the Budget Committee recommends the approval of the 2021 General Fund operating budget as depicted in Exhibit A. And as far as the action that we're going to be needing today is the Budget Committee respectfully request that the board pass the following resolution. Resolved that the board approves the proposed 2021 General Fund operating budget attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by staff. And if I have this correct, since I am on the board and the Budget Committee, that is actually making a motion. And so we just need to have that seconded.
Okay, board, do we have a resolution before us? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing no one opposed, the motion passes. Thank you so much, Mark. Great work.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move on to the executive update. So I'd like to have Jake provide an executive update to the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I just want to lead off and just thank the board for the support you've provided for us this year and the leadership that you've shown during this time. So thank you for that. Mark did a really nice job of trying to share with you some of the challenges, but also there's been a lot of positivity within the agency and the work that the entire team is doing and how they rallied behind the mission of this agency is refreshing to see, and it really keeps you motivated to keep doing this work. And I'm really proud of our team. I'm really proud of our board for everyone really just embracing the mission of this agency and the positive work that we're doing across our state. So I want to just give you a quick update on a few programs in terms of that seem to be, that are obviously very front and center as it relates to the pandemic and promoting housing stability. So I'm going to touch on these real quick here. On the rental assistance side, we are administering the coronavirus relief funds, or what's known as CRF. And we did receive an additional $4 million last week. And as of yesterday, Wednesday, we have paid out, committed to pay to landlords 42.7 million of the 44. So, and we're continuing to process those applications every day. So we've assisted households around 21,960. So on the Emergency Solutions Grant for rental assistance, which is a program that we also administer through a network of not-for-profits and subrecipients. I know the board did delegate authority to me to make additional awards to our subrecipients. However, at this time, we have not taken any action to do that. So there is no update on the delegated authority for me. So we continue to work with landlords on this program. We've paid out, committed 3.7 million of the ESG rental assistance, and we've assisted 927 households with that. The Energy Assistance Program, and as of last Friday, just over 37,000 applications have been approved, paying out just over 17.7 million of energy assistance, and then 2.4 million in crisis. So we're just around $20 million there, paying out with the Energy Assistance Program, and that is done through a network of community action agencies and one not-for-profit in Indianapolis. So we have local service providers that are also, taking those applications and processing them as best they can. They're doing a great job, and really proud of the work that's going on with our Energy Assistance Program as well. So I I want to also remind you, our next board meeting is January 28th at 10 a.m. And so that'll be another virtual meeting as well. So again, I just want to thank the board, the entire team at IHCDA, all of our partners for the work that they're doing out there. And it's really is amazing to see everything come together and everybody working together to deliver on these programs so that they impact as many people as possible. So thank you for that. And that's my update for December.
Jake, do we anticipate getting additional funds out of the legislature nationally if they ever pass this new bill?
Yeah, there is a bill that we're following right now as it relates to the additional response to the coronavirus relief fund. There is a portion of that is budgeting for a rental assistance. And based on some estimates that we've seen by some groups, it would mean about additional $420-some million to IHCDA or to the state of Indiana for rental assistance. And whether or not that would come to IHCDA or how that would be allocated, it's not quite clear on the methodology yet. But however, there's a significant dollar amount that is being discussed for rental assistance in that area.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jake? Any other business to come before the board today? If not, then I just want to take a couple seconds to, on behalf of Lieutenant Governor, to really thank you as board members, the entire leadership and executive staff at the IHCDA, and really the entire team at IHCDA. I know this has been a crazy year for everyone. You got a brand new $44 million program thrown at you quickly on a tight deadline. And so I just can't thank you all enough for the efforts that you've all made to make that program successful and help our Hoosiers across the state. So thank you, Jake. Thank you, board members. And please relay your thanks from us to the entire team at IHCDA. With that, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no one, we'll adjourn this meeting at 10:27. Thank you all. Have a good holiday and a good year.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.